Hello, Bart.
Mom! Dad!
Your family can't help you now.
Oh no! Dad's been drugged!
No, he hasn't.
Hello, and you are listening to the Gotham Chronicle podcast powered by the Batman Universe. Check out the Batman Universe for this and many other great Batman podcasts. I'm Josh, and joining me is...
This is Don.
This is Jan. I'm going to squeeze your face. Solitaire. This is Stella. And this is Ben. And this is Dustin. Actually, no. It's just John and I.
And don't forget
Robin! and Stephen Lacey in my best British accent. And John Wilson for the April Fool's episodes. You'll see this year, folks. Actually, so it's just Don and I this week. We're going Season 2 and Season 3 style because Jan was not feeling well, so there wasn't any, we were hoping that she'd feel better by the time the recording rolled around, but she's going to take the week off, as I've done in the past, as Don did in the past, and as Stella has. And full disclosure, folks, we actually recorded this episode last night, and the recording screwed up. So this is our second time doing this. So if
we're also on a time crunch, so if it seems a little brisk.
We're also on a time crunch. So this episode's going to be a little different, probably more on topic, hopefully. So no long tangents about Goof Troop meets Jurassic Park and Aladdin, and no half-hour blooper section of of Mulan parodies. So, but anyway, this episode was called Reunion, which I feel like 2 episodes ago should have been called that, because I felt I kept on saying that that was the episode of Reunion. But
well, this was like I guess Ivy and Selina, but they've already rematched, and then Bruce and Alfred.
Well,
but they've already rematched.
Yeah, Bullock and Gordon, Ivy and Selina,
Riddler and Riddler. Ish.
Well, Riddler and Oswald, as well.
Ultimate ship.
A few different people, but yeah, Poison Ivy is going around doing her plants things, and then and Gordon's like, "Oh wait, Bullock killed Ivy's father in the pilots. We better save him. Come on, Alvarez, you're in this episode. Whoopee!" And then
so they burst through the door, and Alvarez gravely surmises, "We're too late. We've lost him."
Oh no! Bullock's been drugged. No, he hasn't. We have to explain the joke just because.
I got the sound clip to use for the episode.
Okay, yeah, but basically there was an episode of Simpsons where Sideshow Bob ties up the Simpson family so he could kill Bart, and Homer is passed out cold and drooling, and Lisa says, "Oh no, Dad's been drugged," and Marge grunts, "No, he hasn't." So Bullock. And as if Don and I weren't already laughing at the Simpsons reference,
Bullock says zinc when he wakes up.
Yeah, Bullock zinc. But when they go after Ivy, Bullock forgets his pants, which reminded Don and I of that Ben McKenzie charity commercial where he's pantsless, and it's help Ben McKenzie find his pants to win a chance to go to an escape room.
Oh God.
So Bullock and Gordon, go after Ivy, but it actually takes Selina Kyle standing up to her to stop her plan. Meanwhile, Bruce is trying to apologize to Alfred, and Alfred wants Bruce to prove that he's changed himself. So Bruce does this speech in front of Wayne Foundation, saying after my parents died, there was a man who took me under his wing, a man who's like a father to me, a mighty, mighty man. I hope I can honor him. And as Alfred's crying, he's "Boss to be, that was beautiful. Oh, you like that speech I did about homeless cop? Wait, what?"
Thank you very much.
Now let me thank you by shooting you, because Gordon shoots Bruce this episode.
It was always going to end this way.
If you've seen the episode, you know what we're talking about. And I like to assume that everyone who listens to this podcast watches the show. Otherwise, if you guys are only going by what we're telling,
we do have listeners who don't watch the show. I remember that from the Colin show.
You must have a really twisted view of this show if you're just going by our summaries, because
we don't lie.
Yeah, we lie a lot. There's no Solomon Grundy on the show. Drew Powell left the show in season 1. Actually, we haven't seen Drew Powell for a few weeks, but
you'd think he'd be useful in the Leslie and Sophia scene.
Yeah, but speaking of the Narrows and Leslie and Sophia, the sisters-in-law finally, gather to stare at a picture of Mario and say, "We've stared at this picture long enough." And so Sophia's like, "I want the Narrows." So she's able to surmise through Enigma spies that actually she's just trying to mess with Gordon. So Lee's like, "Oh, I can give you so much shit on Gordon. Did you know he stole someone's luggage from an airport once and and he forgot his pants and he cheated?" I was going to make a reference to something that he did in his personal life. I'm not.
You cannot do that. Oh, by the
way, easy edit. We're not going to say it.
Although I should say that like the Deadpool 2 trailer is out now, so we're back to Deadpool jokes.
Yeah, well, if Nigma starts wearing a red mask, and carrying around swords, then sure. I'm all for it. Or who knows what she'll be doing in Deadpool? We had Calendar Girl in season 2. What will Lee's new theme song be
My
now?
Sharona or something.
Yeah, but anyway, she's like, "So would you like this information on homeless cop? Actually, I'd like to smash your hand with a hammer." "Well, I don't see." "Wait a minute! Ow! No, this actually hurts."
Good God.
Yeah, that was brutal. We're making light of it, but we'll talk about it later. But yeah, that was brutal. And what was the third plot? I know that there was 3, but it's Bullock and Gordon make up, Alfred and Bruce,
Ivy and Selina, Riddler.
Oh yeah. Riddler is kind of at war with his inner psyche, and he basically is able to trick himself into going to Arkham, where Oswald
welcomes him with his loving arms.
Yeah, and they almost kiss, and they unlock the Riddler persona. So, that was Reunion. What plotline should we talk about first?
Full disclosure, do you want to do it like we did last night, where we started with Ivy and then we went with Bruce and Alfred, then the Riddler thing?
Yeah, we could go where the conversation takes us, but what did we start with last night? Did you say Ivy?
I think we started with Ivy and Selina.
Yeah, which I'll go ahead and let you go first because I just talked a lot.
Okay, sure. Well, again, brisk bullet points. Sorry, folks, but in summation, I will never not praise Peyton List for her performance. She is a solid Poison Ivy, and I think that she really sells the sort of embittered kind of evil seductress. And whatever things you can say about the Ivy character, she's the best part of that character. I think out of the whole series and all seasons. That being said, there was a lot of Selina and Poison Ivy sort of like continuity character development and character interaction in this that there's or you're saying this isn't you, I've always hated you, Selina. You were my friend, Ivy. It's not necessarily the fact that this is a different actress. To me, it was more the fact that Ivy as a character throughout the series has not really been focused at all. In season 1, she was all but a cameo. She appeared less than Alan Montoya. Season 2, the same thing. Season 3, she did appear a bit more at the beginning and end as Maggie Gia, but she really was never focused on. So all of a sudden now, when she's sort of this major threat, I'm wondering if Jen has the same thought process, because she can usually kind of explain these things away with Claricel. But I did not really get a large sense of they've come so far from there, because I feel that Ivy has kind of been a bit character for the most part. So while I like the actress, I thought that the whole the weight of the character interaction between her and Selina felt hollow, because not so much of the actress, but because the show never really used her until now. What did you think?
Actually, I'm trying to articulate this more, because I feel like I was able to do it better on the lost recording that the fans will never hear. But I've kind of had to leave a lot of the baggage of Maggie Gia and I almost said Peyton List, of Maggie Gia and Claire Foley behind for this Ivy, and kind of forget that it's supposed to be this 14-year-old girl, because now that they've actually gotten her right, and she hasn't been a little girl for since 2 actresses ago, it's easier for me to forget it, as opposed to Maggie Gia when she was just a little girl the year before. That being said, that confrontation between Ivy and Selina, even though these 2 actresses have only been in these 3 episodes together, the way that Cameron B. Condova and her played off the tension, they were able to sell me on the fact that these 2 have been friends for years, even though this is not the same Ivy by any means. The way that the actresses played the scene and the emotional stakes, I was able to buy that this meant something, and I especially love Selina. taking a stand, and going up against Ivy and risking her life. And I kind of liked how they had that stalemate at the end where like they both could have easily killed each other. And there are some episodes where even if I'm not digging on the plot, I just like marvel at like the actor and actresses like performances. And this was one of those episodes, and I was like just like walking away from it thinking, man, this cast is really strong. Like, kudos to Cameron B. Condova. And as I said the last few weeks with Peyton List, she exudes like confidence and like basically like it. To borrow, a stupid song from a few years ago, she's sexy and she knows it. But like she does know it. She like walks into the room and she owns it. Whereas like Maggie Gia, she kind of played Ivy like more awkward, and I don't know if that was a director's decision or a script's decision, but like with Maggie Gia, they basically played it like she was a little girl in a grown woman's body, which she was. That was the character. She's a teenage girl who found herself in the body of like a grown, attractive woman, and she behaved as such, by like eating junk food and like talking to Penguin like she was like his annoying little sister. We've left that behind, and like this is an Ivy that is like more like she is in the comics.
This is an Ivy that all of a sudden is very, very angry, and I mean, I understand where they got that, but I feel as though that like it's a righteous anger that they didn't really lead up to organically.
I mean, in Maggie Gia's last episode, you kind of see her getting that way a little bit, like like I want a seat at the table. I'm tired of being pushed around because everyone was just like,
they all say that.
They do. Like, I want to see like. It's like Thanksgiving dinner at like Gotham all the time because everyone's always like, I want a seat at the table. Like, at least 3 or 4 characters have said that.
Making it matter less and less. Well, I mean, a lot of times I think of like Uma Thurman's Poison Ivy, and like I feel that like her indignation towards plant life
is that the only other live action Poison Ivy that we've ever gotten?
It would have been, because there's like the various cartoons, and that would have been it. Yeah, even though she's been around since the 60s.
Yeah, like because I can't think of.
She was not on the 60s show.
Yeah, she definitely wasn't. Yeah, I can't imagine where else there would have been a live action Poison Ivy. I'm just,
I don't even think she was in like the cartoons before in the animated series. I don't think she was in like the 70s cartoon or the 68 cartoon.
The Filmation one, the one with Batmite and stuff, and
horrible cartoon. I like the 68 cartoon. The 70s cartoon that you hear on BTO sucked, but like there's very few Poison Ivy versions besides the animated versions in Batman and Robin. And I was going to say that like Uma Thurman. They kind of set up her love of plants early in right before she turned evil. So like, I kind of bought that, but she was less kind of like I'm mad at everyone. This is revenge. So it was a bit more easier to kind of swallow. Which is
Batman and Robin protect us even from plants and flowers.
Batman and Robin was a staunch defenders of the status quo.
Homeless cop and
it was a clueless cop.
Yeah, there you go, Jason Ritter, just for you.
What was it? Like I forget what she says, but like I wish I could recite the dialogue because Uma Thurman's the best actor in that movie. We should probably move on.
Well, it's not a hard contest to do, but like I'll go ahead and say it. This is my favorite live action Poison Ivy because her competition is only like 3 other women.
Well, it's interesting because I really like Corey Michael Smith's Riddler, but I like him when he's being the Riddler. Like, there's so much crap that kind of they throw in there that I don't like it as a whole. And with this Poison Ivy, I could never say this is my favorite Poison Ivy because of like the pervertedness. Really? But like in terms of the performance,
like Uma Thurman, like more.
Well, what I mean is that like in terms of the performance with Peyton List, it's definitely the best. But like in terms of like the Poison Ivy version, no. I mean, my favorite's not Diane Percy from the animated series, but like
that's why I said live action.
Well, yeah, you're talking about like the Peyton List characterization rather than like the version of the Poison Ivy character.
Well, I guess like your favorite live action Poison Ivy, however criteria you would want to give that, Peyton List, Claire Foley, Maggie Gia, and
no, none of them. I mean, like it would be with Peyton List, it would be her performance.
Your favorite is none of them. You choose to abstain.
I mean, like I don't know if you. What I'm trying to say is that like Peyton List's performance is great, but that's what I'll have to kind of land on rather than like this version of Ivy is my favorite because it's really kind of carried with a lot of baggage. But I know what you mean. I think when it's like as they've personified Poison Ivy in these last few episodes, that's like the close. I get that, but like to me, it has kind of a little bit more kind of a narrow specification rather than the whole version.
I'm looking at the Wikipedia page just to see like if there's ever been another live action poison ivy, and it's just Uma Thurman and and these three.
But she could be a camp villain, but like she is one of the best because she can be so intense. But they're all camp villains. I mean, the Joker is so serious, you guys. I mean, they're all campy. So like, it depends on how you kind of play them.
Yeah. And then her stuff with Bullock. I know that you had some like thoughts on that.
I liked the twist where it turned out that Zounds, Bullock was under control in the last hour or so. Like, that was cool. I liked Homeless Cop, doing a Doppler when it was just like what color is her hair, red or scarlet? I don't know. Hey, where'd you go? And then they get into this Hanna-Barbera chase.
Homeless Cop!
Yeah, I love that crap.
That's Hanna-Barbera. One episode where we have more time, we have to like edit the Hanna-Barbera running sound to like Gordon like yelling homeless cop as he's like running away. Like,
I wonder what happened last time because it was even more of a run cycle. But like,
we have the rest of the season. Who knows what he'll be running from? Like,
yes, yeah. Well, I think this. I mean, I don't know if you had thoughts on that, but I think this would lead us to the Bullock and Gordon stuff.
Yeah. I thought that was funny, and I do like how they're remembering that. Oh yeah, like Bullock totally did kill Ivy's dad in the pilots, and which we talked about more on last night in the Lost recording. Like how like like Gordon, why is she mad at Gordon for it? And the point that I brought up was like even though Gordon didn't like directly kill that Mario, to which I had to remind you which Mario I was talking about because like. Don't be named Mario and like go near Gordon and his gun because you're gonna die. But anyway, like as far as Ivy Pepper knows, like the two cops came to her house to chase her dad, and then like her dad wound up dead. And even though like Gordon didn't pull the trigger, like it was a confrontation with Gordon where he died. So it's like the whole Harry Osborn thing, like Spider-Man killed my father.
Well, yeah, it is. That's another thing too, because I don't think we ever saw Ivy react to her father's death before. It was even implied that he was abusive to her, but now it's like you killed my father. That kind of feels like an excuse to her to be violent.
I would just imagine that like changing actresses all these times and like getting new bodies. Like I feel like her brain chemistry and her psyche's kind of been messed with. So things that she might have reacted to differently before. I know this is a BS explanation as far as some people like you are concerned, but like. Just like changing appearances and changing ages and bodies does things to you. So I think that her mind is a little more warped. I mean, in fact, I know her mind's a little more warped because she didn't care. Like that first episode where she comes out of the cocoon and she's like looking at people like eating salads and getting angry. Like she wouldn't have done that when she was Claire Foley. So I feel like, she was probably upset about her dad before, but maybe she was more sensible about it. But now that she's a more angry person, she's reacting to it in a different way, and maybe she always felt this way somewhat, but her more rational side was able to calm it, because I'm trying to remember if as Maggie Gia she ever interacted with Gordon. It's because usually I'm better at remembering this stuff on the show, but
that's
like,
a question.
Yeah, I can't off the top of my head think of a Maggie Gia.
Well, did he react when he saw Peyton List? Like, did he say like Ivy Pepper is a girl? I mean, like a small girl, like a young girl.
Well, I remember when he saw Ivy, he's like, Ivy, you've changed. He wasn't like, you look different now. He was like, because when he first saw her again was last episode with Lucius, when, I know karate. No, you don't. JCPD.
I see.
I don't remember any scenes with him and Maggie. I do remember him looking for her, because I remember, like, they found, like, her discarded Bumblebee outfit, and he was like, this is Ivy's sweater, like, as if, like, no one else in Gotham City had that sweater. I remember that in season 3, which I mentioned on the recording last night, take a shot for every time you say it. That the other week I was watching the promotional video that Gotham put out in season 3, and like they were interviewing the cast and talking about Maggie Gia, like, being the new Poison Ivy, and people like Ben McKinsey and the producers are, from now on, Ivy's going to be more like she is in the comics, because now she's Maggie Gia, and like this is going to be the new Poison Ivy forever. And like they were just like making a big deal about how like it's a new Ivy and it's always going to be this way. And I was like, this was a year ago. Like,
and I maintain that this was not the plan. They were not intending to have 3 actresses for this one character.
Of course not. Of course not. Like, I think that they were intending on using Claire Foley. Like in season 1 at the very beginning, I feel like Claire Foley was supposed to be a bigger deal because she was billed as a series regular. And when we went to San Diego, she had her face on those
trains
buses,
right next to Jada Pinkett Smith.
Yeah, like
the trolleys.
Trains. Yeah, like she had equal prominence, like in promotionalized to like Barbara Keene and like Fish Moon.
She had like 10 seconds of screen time in the pilot, which is weird because that's the thing. It's like they never used her, and I don't. We could say it's the actress's thing, but even with Maggie Gyllenhaal, who was a better actress, like they just never used her. So now it's kind of say, oh, now she's a big deal. It feels, it doesn't feel organic.
Well, and we debated last night, like if Maggie Gyllenhaal left on her own, or if she was fired, I think she quit because her agents.
I proposed that her agent probably got her out because she was not doing anything. I don't know that for a fact, but I would imagine she wasn't doing anything.
I don't think it's that because just because they're changing direction so much, I feel like when they brought Maggie Gyllenhaal on, they tried to do certain things and it didn't work. Not because of Maggie Gyllenhaal's as an actress, but just because like the way that the show is having it played, like as this like goofy Miss Tessmacher sidekick and as this like little girl in a grown one's, but they realized it wasn't working the way they wanted to. So I feel like they decided to go back to the drawing board, and in doing that, just like whatever, change actresses again, or maybe because they set that up with her like taking that little drug in the second episode of the season. When that Chinese was, no, those are ancient magic herbs. Like don't take them. Like I was like, and that's all the explanation we need. Which I go back to if you listen to the first season of our podcast, I mentioned that there was like a kid who I was driving home from school and he would watch Gotham in the car, like on my tablets. So I would sometimes talk in the first season, oh, the kid who I drive home from school had this reaction or this. So his school schedule changed and his mom's work schedule changed. So like him and I did not do season 2 together. So he hasn't seen the show since season 1. And I'm actually taking him home from school again, and he's in high school. But he saw my homeless cop Funko Pop, and he was asking what's happened with the show. And he was bringing up stuff I forgot about. And one of the things that he brought up was I think the episode was called Viper. It was one of the first episodes, and how like it was that early version of Venom, and it makes you super strong. But because it uses all the calcium in your bones for like that strength, the people like would crave milk, and then they would die. And when he brought that up, I was like, oh yeah, that was back when like the show was at least not trying. I'm not going to say realistic, but like trying to have like explanations for things. But now it's like magic powers and like, oh, Butch must have grown his arm back because he was in a magic Indian Hill swamp. Yeah. The show tried a little harder back then. Now like they don't care. Magic exists in the show. Like this, how did this ancient plant that gives you superpowers wind up in this shopkeeper's, store in random Gotham City? If he has this, why isn't he rich? But I digress about that. Before we move on, just because, and let me know if you have anything else to say. I'm just trying to keep it moving because I know you have to go to work. Before we move on from Ivy, we have to give kudos to Alvarez because he showed up this episode. He had lines. Yeah, I mean, it's I guess Harper wasn't available this week, so he got some prominence. He got some lines. He got some screen time. So.
Why don't they partner those two up together? Yeah, where was Harper?
I joked in that DC and DC episode that like Harper and Alvarez are secretly hooking up
because we're not. If you're a fan, you're a shipper. So like, there's never anything in between.
I mean, just because they're like the two minor cop characters like on the show, that like to deliver exposition to.
My favorite Alvarez moment is like him writing down Alvarez and loves Ivy, like no first name given. He's like,
no first name.
It's the stupidest thing.
I don't think they've ever given his first name on the show, although I could be wrong.
I forget what his name is in the comics. I know he has one.
It's Carlos, isn't it?
Probably.
This is why we need Jan.
Okay, we got to move on.
Yeah, no, I'm ready when you are. So, okay, next plotline. Let's talk about I don't remember what we talked about last time, so I guess let's just do Bruce and Alfred for lack of better. And I didn't have too much to say about them last night. I doubt I'm going to have too much to say this time. It's just I did like Davi Mazow's performance. Like he is a really, really good actor in owning this Bruce Wayne role. So even though I used to call this stuff wheel spinning in the old episodes, like, okay, it's him and Alfred making up. We did need an episode on that. We did need that to be earned, and they made sure that they gave it enough time that it was earned. But otherwise, I don't necessarily have too much to say about, that plot line in general.
What I will say is that, like, I liked that even though Alfred says you need to prove to me that you've changed, it was resolved in the same episode. I thought it was funny that Bruce is, Alfred's like, why didn't you tell Master Gordon who you were? He's like, I don't know. Just kind of to BS the whole secret.
Well, maybe he wouldn't have shot you.
You don't know that for a fact. But I liked it. It was good. And like as I mentioned last night, take a shot. When they were sitting to get next together, it looked like Davi Mazouz was taller than Sean Pertwee. And Sean Pertwee's tall because I believe he's the same height as his father, who was a very tall doctor, John Pertwee. So not to say that like Davi Mazouz is like 7 feet tall, but like
they finally fused into one person.
Keyword being finally, but no, I liked it.
Yeah, and just another thing worth noting too about the whole Gordon shooting Bruce is like in the same episode. Gordon's like, giving Harvey like garbage for like, shooting that one like cop accidentally when like Professor Pig set that trap. He's like, you shot this person, you should have known better. And it's like, honestly, like Gordon shoots people at the slightest provocation. Like in fairness to Bullock, it did look like Professor Pig was like holding a weapon and was about to use it on someone. So it was like, it was a mistake, but it was a trap, So like Gordon like shot Bruce and Bruce wasn't coming at him with a knife. Bruce wasn't, like about to stab someone or something. He just another episode in the row of Gordon with a gun, like shooting someone that
he just could not bring himself to shoot Ra's al Ghul when he had a child at a knife's throat.
You know what? It's funny because I was defending that when you and Jam were on the show, but now, like months later, after he shot everyone else, I will give that to you. You know what? Yeah, like. He shoots everyone else all the time, but he didn't shoot, like, Ra's al Ghul when, there was a kid's life at stake.
When, like, everything in the world told him to.
Yeah, like, I will finally agree with you now, so there you go.
Thank you. It was
a victory.
Crap.
Sorry, Jan,
Wasn't she with me on that?
Well, I'm saying sorry, Jan, because, like, because I disagreed with her originally.
Oh, right.
I'm making penance.
Let's see. After that, do we want to talk about the Narrow stuff?
That would be, very interesting thing to talk about. Which, that scene at the end with Marina Baccarin and Crystal Reed with the torture. Wow, I have to hand it to Marina Baccarin. She totally crushed that scene. I mean. No, thumbs up. Like let's give her a hand. She
what a smashing performance.
Yeah, it was very, very smashing. That scene was just pulverizing. Why you might even say that Sophia beat Lee's hand with a hammer, and it's in our stomachs right now.
Scratch that.
Simpson reference, folks.
We love them.
If you ever want to understand half the jokes we make on the podcast, watch like the first 10 seasons.
Yeah, watch the good episodes of The Simpsons.
Yeah. Skip everything after year 10. That was great. I do love how the two like Falcone women that are like left on the show. Well, we haven't really had other Falcone women, but like these Falcones are dropping like flies between Carmine and Mario. And who knows
every episode they die.
Yes. So, and it was funny because we made fun of an old Spider-Man comic on Classics years ago because it opens with the Avengers saying we've stared at this picture long enough, and that's kind of how the scene opens up. Like we stared at this picture of Mario long enough, and I guess they like photoshopped like Mario's actor with like Crystal Reed in like a photograph because I thought that they called that actor back just to like pose with Crystal Reed in a picture. If they did, yeah. What an easy paycheck for him.
There could be like a deleted scene in the DVDs where they have a flashback between the two of them, but you're probably right.
Yeah. We never got to see the brother and sister together, and we're all about family with the Falcones, and I'm thinking, yeah, that's why Lee skipped her father-in-law's funeral, and why Sophia may or may not have skipped her brother's wedding.
Lest we forget, in the comics there is at least one more Falcone sibling that they can kill off.
Yeah, who Gordon could just kill off the gate. There's nothing that actually contradicts, like, if Sophia was or wasn't at Mario's wedding, like, in that dialogue. Like, they could have met before. Like, they're not saying nice to finally meet you. It's just like
wasn't Falcone said, like, you must stay away from Gotham? Like, it was a big deal for her to leave Miami to Gotham.
Yeah, I mean, maybe she was at the wedding and sat in, like, the third row, and, like, like,
why would he bring her there though? In that instance, like, why would he
it's
not?
Her brother's wedding. She could leave Miami for an afternoon.
And he was with her.
I mean, say what?
And he was with her too. It wasn't like she was alone.
Yeah, exactly. Nothing bad happened to any of his kids on that wedding day at all.
You mean this wedding day?
But actually, speaking of Gordon and his actions, I was shocked, like, how quickly, like, Lee was able to turn on Gordon, because she's like, so, she wants revenge on Jim. She like, tells Nigma, there's no soul searching. There's no, like, resignation, like, it's what I must do. She, like, very quickly just, like, immediately says, well, I'll just tell her every single crime that Jim's ever committed. I know crimes that other people don't even know about. I was like, dang, Lee. Now, she's trying to protect the Narrows and, like, poor, impoverished people, so I totally get that. Like, she's not doing it.
Yeah, she does say, this isn't me hating Jim. This is me protecting these people that have adopted.
But like, there's no, what a tortured choice. Like, she has no problem taking down Jim Gordon. Like, and I was actually wondering too, like, okay, like, crimes that he's committed that only other people know. And I know that there's some, and the one that I immediately thought about was that mob hit that he does for Penguin at the beginning of season 2, because I remember him confessing that to Lee at the end of the season 2 premiere. I would think that no one cares about who killed Galavan anymore, since, like, Butch Gilzine, like, killed him a second time. So it's like, what are they gonna do? Charge Gordon for, like, the first murder when, like, he was clearly alive after that?
I was trying for child endangerment. It's like, he's gonna kill the kid. Get out of my way. That's one of the most appalling things he's ever done.
Lee doesn't know about that, though. But, like,
she doesn't. Sophia.
What are some other crimes that Lee would know that Gordon's done that no one else has?
I don't. If we had time, I would go through it, but I can't think of it right now.
Now, this plotline did have what I think is the best line of the episode, where Nigma goes to Lee and says, and I quote, "Your ex has been sleeping with your dead husband's mafiosa sister." Like,
and she's like, enough, Ed, I don't want to hear anymore. Well, there's lots more. Oh,
yeah. There's even a song. Come on, Martine, sing it again. I saw... No.
Awesome.
Wait, Martine's alive? No. Yeah, that line sums up... like
the last series of, like, Gotham Chronicle jokes we've been making the last year.
Yeah, like, and just how crazy it is. And Gordon's what did I say? Like, he's made horrible decisions sexually, is I think what I said.
Oh, yeah.
And I like how Lee just, like, rolls her eyes at that, like, okay.
I think she more like forces it out of her brain so she can concentrate. Because if she thinks about it even further, she'll just, like, projectile vomit.
Well, and to me, like...
because everyone who's mentioned that has been disgusted. Barbara, Falcone, and now, like it's something where it's like, you can't just, like, write that off. It's a sick thing to have happen.
I hope that she, like, mentions that to Gordon, like, the next time they meet, like, hey, so, like, don't you think that it's a little inappropriate that you slept with my sister-in-law? Like...
No, it's a lot inappropriate.
Homeless cop. You could join us next time if you want. Ew, no.
Now, I know you're in the hospital, but hear me out.
Oh, come on. It'll help save the Narrows. Lee, you're not actually considering this, are you? Well, Nigma, it will save the Narrows. Speaking of saving, if only Lee had somebody with her in that scene where she was being tortured, if only she would have brought, I don't know, like, a big, strong guy, someone with superhuman strength who obeys her every order, somebody who's loyal to her, who's in the Narrows, maybe, like, a fighter, maybe someone with, like, kind of, like, a butch, body frame or something like that, like...
Where was Tabitha in this episode?
Yeah, exactly. Grundy, like... who's still missing, which we brought up last night too, that like Nigma and Lee are both like leaving Grundy without a babysitter, and yeah, he's not 5 years old, but like, and they don't know that he's Butch again, so shouldn't they be worried that like if they leave him alone, he'll like see like fire and like smash something, or like kidnap a little girl, or like take Tabitha to the top of the Empire State Building, or that like or that the evil fox from Pinocchio will like try and like, you know, get like him to like rob stores for him or something.
Oh my god. What was yeah, like Johnny Honest or something like that.
Yeah, I haven't seen that movie in like years. I just remember like a con man fox or something. So like
check out this movie from like I think 1939 or something.
From the year Batman was created.
I think that was actually Snow White. I think Pinocchio was in 1940. But moving on, it's another company.
Yeah.
I agree that like this is one of those instances where like the character's gone and there's not a good reason why they're gone.
I mean, you could say that she like Lee didn't feel threatened, like, so maybe that's why like she didn't take Solomon Grundy, because like she didn't necessarily think that Sophia was gonna like do anything to her. I don't know. But
I don't know. Well, I want to mention that like that was terrific acting by Marina Baccarin. That was horrifying, and like when I was watching on my television, my mom walked in. What's that noise? Oh my god!
Yeah, having a hand on Gotham is like.
Yeah, it's like having a hand on Star Wars. You're going to lose it sooner or later.
Yeah, like Tabitha, Butch. Did Barnes lose a hand? I forget.
Yes, because because I feel that he escaped by cutting his. I mean, he has like a sickle hand for some reason.
Yeah, I used to remember more of this stuff.
I don't remember if he lost a hand. Oh, but he who chopped off? Oh no, well Alfred stabbed Catherine's hand.
Yeah, and Jada Pinkett Smith stabbed. Fish Mooney. She stabbed Oswald's hand in that one episode in season 1 too. So it's hands are. And I think like Penguin like cut off a guitar player's fingers for some reason in season 1. They were like blackmailing. They needed to get a restaurant so they can set a trap for Maroni. So like Penguin like chopped off a guitar player's hands because like this like. It was a weird side quest. The manager's like, I will only let you have this restaurant if you like make my daughter break up with this like marriage that I don't want to happen. But I mean, this conversation is also a side quest right now. So moving on. Yeah, no, that was brutal. Lee Sophia stuff. I can't comment on it too much more without speculating because I know a little bit of what's coming because Fox sent me some previews, so I recuse myself from the rest of that conversation.
Well, by the time this episode gets out, that episode will air.
Shut up.
Well, no, I mean, there's no way it can.
Yeah, I know. We're recording. I mean, like we said, listeners, we're recording this late, but I did make a joke last night that I liked, so I'm gonna repeat it. That like Lee was like offering to like sing like a canary, like for this Gordon thing, like
a black canary.
I joked that it was like, you know, she was like a Robert Mueller witness that like turned, you know, like, okay, I'll cooperate. You know?
Well, if you wanted to put that in, actually, that will tangent the shit out of this episode.
Oh, I mean,
I just had news. Okay. I just had a news alert.
Okay. I'm curious, but yeah, we got to finish the episode. Oh, I'm curious now. Like, Jim Gordon's been indicted for the murder of, you know, like Mario Pepper, Theo Gallivan, random mafia guy, Alexander for that little kid that like got stabbed, and parking in a handicap zone,
Grand Theft Auto, stealing Bullock's car.
Grand Theft Auto.
My car! Putting Batgirl stickers all over it.
Gordon goes on Twitter. This is my last joke, and then we're moving on. But like, Gordon like goes on Twitter like, "This is a total witch hunt," you know, like. Read Donald Trump's tweets in the homeless cop boys.
Yeah, I'm sure people will have no knowledge of those.
The other plot line is Nigma getting reawakened, and there's lots of jokes about Arkham having bad security over the years, but like Arkham's security was so bad this episode that for some reason Oswald Cobblepot was able to like wander freely through the asylum into the admission guy's office.
That's a good point. Like, I actually didn't think about that.
Yeah, like this is like someone's office, like, and some of these people he's in there because they think that he killed a kid, so like wouldn't they be worried that like this potential child murderer is like going into the office, and could like kill the admissions guy?
I don't know why he just did not go to prison for that, but whatever. Yeah, he walks in there like it's it's a boarding school. Like it's
exactly.
Hogwarts.
And there is an admissions office, like it is a boarding school. I did not have too much to say about the Enigma plotline. I do kind of roll my eyes at the whole like he tricked himself thing, and like he's arguing with himself like Gollum, and he's gonna kill himself, and whatever.
Well, I mean, I like the acting. I like the Enigma plot reunion.
I did like that.
And I guess that like the Riddler's back by the end of this episode. So it wasn't. I don't think I disliked a lot of stuff in this episode, but like so I didn't dislike this. There's not much to say about it, but I liked it. I thought the acting was really good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I at least like the acting, and I'm glad that the two of them are together. And we spoke about this more last night, but it take a shot. But it's basically I don't like the whole Riddler being like a different persona from Edward Nygma. Like, is because it's not Harvey Dent.
We talked about that the entire show.
Yeah, it's not like a split personality. It's like he's the Riddler. It's a compulsion, and they're kind of playing this duality thing more. And when I interviewed Corey Michael Smith at Tumblr headquarters last month, he said he was even talking about them like they were separate people. He's like, we've seen Edward Nygma in love, but we've never seen the Riddler in love. And I'm like, but have we? But okay, this is what they're going with. So I guess I should sit back and kind of accept it the way that I have accepted other stuff in the show that's different. Well, like when if next episode Bruce like gets a rocket ship or something, I should just accept it.
No, you have way too lenient limits on this on the crap this show pulls off. But I do digress.
I've hated on the show when they've done things that I haven't liked.
But not as consistently as I have.
No, not as consistently as you. Although, like, I think you and I have said before that like this is our favorite season in a while. I say a while, like there's only been 4 seasons.
Oh, but I do think that the show. I mean, I would say that the show has actually gotten better with each season in terms of interest and entertainment quality. I mean, I would say that like in terms of writing, but like, but by this point, you care about the characters enough that like what happens to them is interesting.
So that was Reunion. The next episode is called.
It's like a real mouthful of an episode. They say bread and services.
Yeah. I'm going back to the Futon Critic right now. Yeah, I was like, wow, this is just like season 1 where like the episodes were like these weird, long, nonsensical things.
A ball of meat and mudness. Sorry.
The sinking ship, the grand applause.
What the hell does that mean?
I'm sure it will all become clear like next episode. Like
we didn't know what reunion meant in this episode.
Yes, we do. Like. People reunite. Gordon and Bullock. Actually, it's Bullock and Gordon. That's what it says in the thing. I just read it reverse. Try to track down someone who is key in Sophia's control over Gotham. My guess is Martine, because he is in the. Well, spoiler alert. Meanwhile, Penguin, Lee, and Enigma enlist an unlikely ally as they seek revenge, and Selina asks Bruce for a favor to help her get rid of her guilt over Ivy in the all-new A Dark Knight, The Sinking Ship, The Grand Applause. And the guest cast list is Anthony Kerrigan as Victor Zsasz, Headhunter's back. Yeah. Stu Large Riley as Samson. That's that guy that like Lee tried to poison and who was also in this episode. Nathan Darrow as Mr. Freeze. And Christopher Convery is back as Because You Demanded It, and by you I mean Jan and that girl on Twitter. And let's face it, you and I, Martine. Will Martine save Gotham or destroy it?
That's what I like to see.
He's got like a 1970s lightsaber in his hand.
he's dressed like he's in karate practice.
And I will mention this just because it's a funny story. This episode is, because we're recording this late, like airing tonight, but like Fox sends previews of the episodes sometimes, and they didn't send a preview for this one, but they sent a preview for the one after it. And I couldn't help it. I had to watch. So I don't know what happens in this episode, but I know what happens in the one after it, which like kind of gives me clues about what happens. So it's actually really weird. Like I have like context of how the episode ends, but like not exactly what goes down. So
it'll be fun to talk about on the podcast.
Yeah. I wish that they would send them in order, but hey, I was just glad to get them. Like, wow. Like, the episode ends, I can't believe that Martine flew away in a rocket ship with Alan and Montoya. You know, like, it was the only way to save us from that asteroid. I was like, wow, last episode must have been insane.
We'll miss you, Reptar. Good luck and Godspeed.
So until next time, this is Josh.
This is done.
This is Jan.
And this is Dustin. And this is Gordon.
Ben McKenzie, what are you doing here?
And this is Dustin.
Ding, this is Brad, and you've been listening to the Gotham Chronicle podcast.